Hello, Ashley here. Welcome back or welcome to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast, where we discuss all things online entrepreneurship and digital marketing. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about a really fascinating subject that applies to every single entrepreneur on the planet, including online entrepreneurs, and that's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The funny part about this episode is it's actually inspired by a recent rewatching of the Netflix documentary about the now very infamous FYRE Festival debacle. So if you don't know or you haven't watched that Netflix documentary, firstly, it's really entertaining. But second of all, I'm going to give you a little synopsis because I'm going to reference it throughout because all I could think about while I was rewatching this with my boyfriend because I wanted him to see it was the Dunning-Kruger effect in entrepreneurship. So the FYRE Festival was a super highly publicized but also disaster of a music festival that was supposed to be this very bougie luxury festival, and it took place on April in 2017. So here is what went wrong. There was an entrepreneur named Billy McFarland, and he paired up with the rapper Ja Rule. Already the story is amazing just by nature of he paired up with Ja Rule to make this happen. But anyway, the FYRE Festival was super promoted on social media by a ton of influencers and celebrities. They shot the promo for the FYRE Festival on a private island that was allegedly previously owned by Pablo Escobar, which actually isn't where they ended up having the event because that got them into trouble with Pablo Escobar. I'm telling you, this keeps getting better. But these top models actually had a great party. So they were there to shoot the promos, and the promise of this super luxurious, exclusive experience on a private island in the Bahamas was marketed very heavily and really well. So wealthy individuals, festival goers and such, purchased these very expensive tickets that had anywhere from a cabana on the beach to a private villa. There was all kinds of different packages, things that you could add on. It sounded and looked wonderful as far as the marketing. Now, that ended up being false advertising because when people began to arrive, they showed up to the festival site and it was nowhere near what had been promised. So there were no luxury accommodations. It wasn't a private island. The way that they set up these tents, they were like disaster relief tents with blow-up mattresses inside. They had really no dining options. There was one restaurant on the whole island. They had these infamous cheese sandwiches for food. There were portable toilets because they just didn't have the infrastructure in place to make this happen. This is a case of extreme mismanagement, false advertising, and also, we're getting to the Dunning-Kruger effect, a lack of understanding and grasp of how complex it is to organize a large-scale event, particularly overseas, particularly on an island that lacks infrastructure as it is. So just kind of keep that point of reference in your mind. And then also now, before we get into it, I want you to go onto your phone or your computer, if you can. If you're driving and listening to this, I'm going to describe this visual to you, but I think it'd be super helpful if you pull up on your phone the Dunning-Kruger effect graph as I'm describing it. So just type in Dunning, D-U-N-N-I-N-G, Kruger, K-R-U-G-E-R, effect, and you'll find a bunch of graphics. Some of them say slightly different verbiage, but the slope should all be the same. The y-axis is confidence, so low to high. Again, the y-axis, the one going up and down, and then the x-axis, the one going left to right, is competence. So knowing little to being a guru. So just to set that up for you. So let's talk about what is this Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's break it down. At the core, this effect is a cognitive bias that shines light on how our perception of our own abilities can be super inaccurate, especially when we're not fully competent in a particular area. And I bet you've experienced this before and come out on the other side of it and thought, what the heck was I thinking being so overly confident? This is going to explain it. So imagine a graph and it's shaped like a bell curve. So at the bottom left of this curve, you have what's called the Mount Stupid phase. In this phase, someone's blissfully unaware of their own incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. Their confidence, though, is high, while their competence is low. It's sort of like watching my daughter, who's 7, play soccer or baseball. She is just starting out her soccer and or baseball careers. She's good for her age and her amount of experience, but she thinks she's going to the MLB. Like, she really feels like she is so confident in her abilities, but she doesn't know what she doesn't know. And as she gets older, and this is a child, not an entrepreneur, but the process is the same. As she gets older and realizes she needs to practice more if she wants to get as good as her confidence is telling herself right now that she is. And that's a process over time. Or in the case of coaches coaching coaches, which we see a lot, or coaching other business owners, but that coach has only made money through, say, high ticket sales, and they're not really able to do much more when they get started other than say, okay, here is exactly what I did, now go do that. Because they don't yet have the depth of marketing knowledge or the skill sets to coach someone on that yet, that would allow them to advise someone in how to grow and scale a business outside of just saying, go do what I did. So coaching and teaching and digital marketing in general, that's a huge area of competence. And a lot of people get started and they have this peak of Mount Stupid. And as you move up that curve, you hit that peak. And this is where the Dunning-Kruger effect is in full swing. Right at the top of that peak, you start to recognize your limitations, but you're still overly confident in your abilities. So picture Billy McFarland of the FYRE Festival, him thinking that he is absolutely going to pull off a luxury music festival for thousands on a private island without infrastructure, without a hitch, because he is an entrepreneur and entrepreneurs do these things, but he had no experience with putting on such a large scale event, let alone a music festival, let alone a luxury one, and yada, yada, yada. He didn't know what he didn't know. He was overly confident. And frankly, there was a little bit of probably narcissism and intentional lying. I don't know, but just go with me for the sake of this analogy. But here's the kicker with the Dunning-Kruger effect. As you continue your journey, climbing the curve over to the right, so you peak Mount Stupid, then you start to go down, you become more aware of what you don't know, and your confidence takes a dip temporarily. This is what is called, in the Dunning-Kruger effect, the valley of despair. So this is the moment that you realize, if you were Billy McFarland, that organizing a music festival is a hell of a lot more complicated than it originally seemed. You're like, okay, what have I gotten myself into? I actually now don't have the confidence that I can do this at all. Oh my gosh. However, the good news is, with persistence and learning and growth and mentorship and all of the things, you eventually do ascend and start going back up to the right of the curve. And this is called the slope of enlightenment. And this is when you're actually building true competence and your confidence aligns more closely with your actual abilities. And this is the point when you become a true CEO and you're ready to tackle any challenge that comes your way. And if you're a coach, you're a teacher, you're a mentor, you're ready to help your clients to tackle things that come your way because you've peaked in confidence, you've dipped down into the valley of despair, and then you've worked and learned your way back up to that confidence. But it's a sustainable amount of confidence because you have the enlightenment, if you will, or the competence to back that up. So how does this apply to us as entrepreneurs and online owners? Well, it applies to both newbies and seasoned pros. For the newbies, if you're just starting out your online business journey, or you're taking a pivot and you're going into a different industry or niche, you may find yourself at the Mount Stupid phase where you just have so much confidence, but you are lacking the skills and the knowledge to match it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't want you to not be confident, but this is when it's crucial to, rather than just cruise along on your confidence and plummet into the valley of despair and not know what to do, it's so crucial to, from the beginning, seek guidance, learn, and grow. Not to let this effect fool you into thinking that you're doing better than you are. You're more of an expert than you are when you're just getting started. We have to have realistic expectations about our competence. There's no way that you're an expert. What's the statistics on expertise? I believe it's you have to do something for 7 years and a certain amount of hours before you can really truly be considered an expert. And so if you're brand new, you can definitely capitalize on your confidence, your excitement, but also at the same time, make sure that you are continuously learning and growing so that you don't find yourself down in the valley of despair, beating yourself up because the whole thing has fallen apart. It won't, but you have to continue on your growth path and learning path. Now, there's two ways the Dunning-Kruger effect can affect seasoned entrepreneurs. So even entrepreneurs who are experienced can still find themselves getting back on this curve. After you've had some years of success, it's easy to underestimate new challenges and think that you've got everything all figured out, got your launches all figured out, you've got your content dialed in. But especially in the online world, with the changes in the online space, the marketplace, changes in our economy, you might find yourself getting to this overconfident place and not looking at the changes and doing things the same way, feeling confident. It's almost like thinking you can recreate the FYRE Festival if you're Billy McFarland without learning from the previous mistakes or without doing things differently, which obviously is a recipe for absolute disaster. But the other piece to this for more veteran entrepreneurs, we could also tend to underestimate what we do know once we're on that slope of enlightenment. So you go into this valley of despair where your confidence is so low, but as you're climbing back out of that valley of despair, you are gaining a lot of competence. In addition to what you already have, your confidence is just not there. So it can tend to make us hold back or to underestimate what we have to give. So there's a few takeaways for you. One, embrace this whole Dunning-Kruger effect as a reminder. And this is something I remind myself of daily because I have gotten caught in that trap where I'm like, oh, I'm doing great, I'm crushing it. And then I ease off of learning, improving, iterating, all of those things. And that's when you see stagnation in your business. So this is a reminder to stay humble and always keep learning no matter where you are on the curve. So if you're brand spanking new or you are scaling your business, keep learning. Secondly, competence is a journey. It's not a destination. So you're going to get to a point where you have a sustainable business. You have a sustainable competence and confidence level that gives you so many opportunities to grow your business and to help others grow in your area of competence as well. But there's always room to grow. There's always room to seek feedback and surround yourself with mentors and peers who are on the same journey. And just remember that even the most experienced, seasoned entrepreneurs can learn something new every day. No doubt the big, huge marketing giants that I look up to, like Amy Porterfield, for example, she is always learning. She's surrounded with a team that helps her learn. There's no way she's still doing things the way that she did 2 years ago. And so if people who have an extreme amount of competence and confidence can still learn, then so can we. So lastly, don't let this whole Dunning-Kruger effect thing stunt your progress or stop you from continually seeking out support from people and sources who have the results you desire consistently from beginning through the whole journey. I hope you found this episode valuable and interesting and some food for thought that you can return to keep your smart, amazing, wonderful Maverick self humble and hungry to grow and learn more. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and please leave a review. It just helps so much to push the show out to other like-minded female entrepreneurs who would love to hear this message as well. I would love to connect with you on Instagram, have you in my free Facebook group, or better yet, consider joining my membership community, the Maverick Society, where you have access to coaching 3 times per month. Currently, we're about to bump that to 4 times per month. Resources, including my full course library, as long as you're a member, conversation, and community with other female entrepreneurs in all stages of business, from just getting started out to 6 figures that you need to level up along your slope of enlightenment. More information on the Maverick Society is linked in the show notes, or you can go to elevatedwithashley.com/maverick and check that out. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to this episode. And until next time, cheers to your impact.